Hello all, welcome back to Learning Partner. If you are new, please do subscribe. This is another channel where you can directly connect with me. We have around 1000 plus members already who are working. We take live coding sessions and everything. To just get notified about those sessions, please do join this group. So in this video, we are going to see a basic CRUD application, but a catch is we are going to create the API also that will be with .NET, and that whatever the API we will create, that we will consume in the Angular also. So any table we will create and we will do that. So first, how to create the database and table, then how to write the API in .NET Core, and then the Angular part I will be covering. Now, before doing all this, you need particular softwares. Fine. So first thing you will need is Visual Studio. So if you just Google this Visual Studio, this website you will be opening. You just have to go over here. Then you can download the Visual Studio. There you can see so many versions are here. So you can download the community version. Okay, this will be free. Others are paid one. So you can just download this. It will be a long process, and in that you just need to select two options, .NET and .NET. Two options will be there. You can just Google what option you need to select for .NET. Just two options you need to select. Then you will be done with the .NET. Visual Studio will be installed. After that, if you don't have any online database, you need the database in your local machine. So for that, you need to install SQL Server. So this is the site. Simply search SQL Server, open the first site, and from here, where it is on premises or any without built-in security. So first one, SQL Server on Azure or Edge. Wait, one more thing will be there. Yeah, developer. So this developer edition you can use, or the Express also. Express is lightweight, so you can download Express also. So this is only server. Once server is installed, you need the SQL Management Studio also. This, which will allow you to access the server. So with this software, you will be able to access the database. Fine. So these three things you need to do. You can just Google anything. Very simple steps are there, and you can done the installation. And if you already have it, I think you might be a .NET developer or something, so you don't have to do it again. So Visual Studio, then again, if you don't have if you don't want to install the database, now you can ask me for the database, online database. I will be providing to you that. So one software will be less. Two software you don't need to install this. Fine. Only Visual Studio if you install, that is also okay. You will be able to use my database also. Fine. Now, so once you do all these installation, then you will have that required software. So first, I have my Visual Studio already installed. So I'm opening that. So you can see Visual Studio. What you need to do, just search Visual Studio. See, 22 it is coming. Let's click on it. So this is Visual Studio opening. Now, after this, we need to open the SQL Management Studio also. So again, search SQL Management Studio. See, 19. So let's open it. Now we will create the database and the table. So let's say user table or employee, anything we can create, right? So this is the server name and we are going to use the Windows authentication. So let's click on connect. Again, I'm not going to go in very deep, like what is, because in .NET we have so many things, but basic how you can quickly build the API, that I will be explaining. If you any language, either it is Angular or React or .NET, you know the basic older version also, or the MVC or ASP, you will be able to figure it out. But if you are totally fresher, then it will be very hard to process everything. Fine. So we have connected to our database. Let's expand this database. So you can see certain databases are already over here. Let's create new database. So right click on the database, new database. We can use the SQL query also to do that, but I'm using this just to save the time. So let's say we want to create a test database. So test DB, just a database name I am giving as test DB. Let's click on OK. Fine. So you can see test DB is created. Now in this database, I need to create a table. So here you can see table is there. Right click on that, new table. Again, you can use the SQL query also, create table, table name, and whatever columns you have. But just to save the time, I'm going with the UI thing. Let's say employee table. So employee ID. This is going to be primary key. So it will be with data type integer. We need to make it primary key. It will be not null, and we need to make it identity so that we don't have to send the primary key. Database will automatically increment it. Employee ID. Then let's say first name. Data type will be varchar. String type of data we are going to store. Let's say 50 maximum. This is required. Last name. Again varchar 50. This is also required. Then let's say email. Again varchar. Let's make it optional. This will be optional, not mandatory. Then let's say contact number. Varchar. For contact number, let's say 10 max digit we will allow. And this is mandatory. Then let's say city. Varchar 50. It is also optional. Address. Varchar 50. It is also optional. So these are the columns we have created. Let's save this table. So click on this save table. It will ask you to provide the table name. Employee master. Fine. So we are providing a name that is employee master. That's it. So if you just expand this table, you can see we have created our table. Let's try to insert the data also. Directly you can edit the top rows and you can insert the data. As I said, employee ID is a primary key and identity. So we don't have to send it. Remaining things we need to send it. Let's say Chetan, last name is Zogi, email ID chetan@gmail.com, contact number 9999. Just a dummy number I'm passing. Pune. Fine. Let's see. So you can see ID it has taken automatically. We didn't pass it. So we have created it. We have created a database. Inside that database, we have created a particular table. Inside that table, we have inserted some data also from the database. So our database work is done. Our table is ready. Now we will move to the API part. So we have opened this Visual Studio. Now let's try to create a new project. For creating new project, you have to click over here, create new project. Then it will show you the list of various project type which you can create. Now from that we need API. Just search API. So here you can see ASP.NET Core Web API. So this is the project template you need to select. Just select it, click on next. Then it will ask you where do you want to keep this project. So let's use this default one only. Now I'm giving the project name as employee.api. Just a meaningful name I am giving to my project, employee.api. Fine. By default, C gadget care source repos is selected. So you can use that or you can store it somewhere else also. You can just select the folder. Click on next. Okay, you don't have to do anything over here. Just click on create. So this will create your web API project with .NET Core latest version. Fine. So let me show you the solution explorer. So you can see our .NET project is done. Now, what are the things we got? Controller folder we got, app setting we have got, program.cs we have got, and a basic API is there. Model is there, weather model. So it is there. And this is the basic API. This is the only controller for this model. Some basic data it will send. So that code is there. Fine. Now you got the empty web API project. Now here, whenever we talk about .NET, with .NET we work with entity framework. Just like in Java also we work with Spring Hibernate framework, right? Just like that over here also we have entity framework, which allows you to connect with the database with an object-oriented way. Again, I'm saying I'm not going into detail because most of my subscribers are React and the React from the or the Angular background, so they might not get everything. But just good to know, basis to know information I'm giving. Fine. So we have created our API project. Now in this API project, we have to install entity framework. And that will be from your uh, node package manager. So you need to go to the tools, NuGet package manager, and you need to select the second option. Now in this project, we are trying to install the package. Just like in Angular also we install the package, not just like that same. So you need to click on this browse section. Here you need to search entity. So this is the first package we need to select. Select it, select your project and click on install. Core entity framework we are installing. Okay. So let it done. Output. So I think finished. Fine. Once you install this entity framework, we need to again install SQL also, entity SQL. Another package we have to install. So Microsoft entity framework core.sql server. So this also you need to install. Why it is saying it is already installed? Something is wrong. Why it is saying it is okay? Sorry. So we have selected this, and in this project we need to install. So just click on install. This will also. So we just need two packages, entity framework and the entity framework SQL. Two entity framework packages we need to install. This is the first step. Steps I have already written it out properly. So you can see entity framework and the entity framework SQL server. These two packages you need to install. Once you do this, then you need to add the web config. Web config as in previous connection detail, database connection detail. So we have got app setting.json. This was in previous .NET version. We had this as a web config, but now it's a JSON file. Now here you need to add your connection string of your database. So that I have it. Let's copy. Let's paste it over here. So now server, your connection stream name is testcon. Whatever you feel, you can give it over here. Over here, you need to provide the server. So let's get our server. So let's click on connect. So this is our server name. So let's copy this server over here. Then from this server, which database you are going to use? So the database which we created, testdb. Let's get the name of the database. This is database name. Then since we are going to connect with the Windows credential, you don't need to provide user ID and password. So, but you need to provide this multiple action results, say trusted connection and trusted certificate as a true. Fine. So this is your connection string. We have installed entity framework, then added a connection string. That's it. Okay. Now we will move to the third step. Now we have to create a DbContext class. Now DbContext class is a representation class for your database. Fine. So let's create a DbContext class. Right click. Now is before that now in employee in our project we have to create a new folder. So right click, add a folder, model. Just a model folder I'm creating. Now in this model folder, what we need to do, we need to create our DbContext class. So right click, add class. Let's say our project is employee management, right? So employee DbContext we will create. Employee DbContext. Fine. We have created a class which is going to represent our DbContext class. Now this class we have created, but this class we need to override with DbContext. Fine. So it will suggest the import. Let's add that import using entity framework. Fine. So we are overriding some things from DbContext. Now inside this, we need to create our constructor and we need to register something. Fine. So that already I have it. So let's copy. Over here, we just need to provide our class name and our store DbContext and our class name over here. Fine. So we have created our constructor, and in that constructor, we are providing the options which we are going to use for the entity framework. Fine. So this is how your DbContext should look like. You should have a class which is inheriting DbContext. Let me just zoom a little bit. And inside your constructor, you should have the option DbContext option, and this option we are going to provide in your program.cs. So once you install the entity framework, you add the connection string, you create the DbContext. After that, you need to go to your program.cs and register this DbContext. Otherwise, you will get the error. So you need to go to program.cs, and in the builder, you need builder services, you need to add it. So this is what we need to do. So let's copy it, and here you provide the connection string. So builder.services, here you need to provide your DbContext class name, employee DbContext. So once I provide it over here, see it has added the import also model. And what is our connection string name? Same thing is there, I think. Testcon. So whatever the connection name you provide, that you need to provide it over here. So consider it like you have created a DbContext class, but as I said, DbContext class is a representation for your database. So for database, you need to provide the connection string, na? So here you have said option, and that value, it is going to get it from over here. See, we are saying for this DbContext class, use this server with this connection string. Fine. So our connection is done. Now, let me just close unnecessary things. Fine. After that, you need to create the model. So currently we have created just one table, employee master. So let's open it in a design mode. So we have created this table. Now we have to create a model for this. So inside model folder, I will create a model class. Let's say employee. Fine. We are creating a class which we will connect it to the database table. Add. We have created our class. Now inside this class, we need to create our properties. So see, it is suggesting also. So first property is employee ID. This is our primary key. Fine. And data type is with int. Now above this property, you need to provide the data annotation. So this is primary key. So here we need to say capital key. Once you select it now, import will be automatically added. See, data annotation. After that, this is primary and auto increment also. So database generated, round bracket, database generated dot identity. Fine. So whatever the column you have in your table, that many properties you need to create now. So prop, you can just write prop and then 2 times click tab. It will create this. Now whatever things we have, let's just copy paste. I will be going a little bit fast because so many things we have to cover. First name, we will change the data type. Last name, then we have email, then we have got contact number, then we have got city, exactly column name you need to add it over here. Fine. Address, that's it. Let's change the string into string. So in database we have said varchar mean nothing but string. So here we have that we have to add the data type string. Fine. So we have created our table. Now while creating table, we said these two, three, this like first name, last name, contact number are mandatory. So let's add that also. So over here, we can add a required attribute. See, it is suggesting required and max length also. So max length is 50. So that also we can add. This is also validation. Max length, instead of 100, we have to add it 50. So whatever the rules you have mentioned in while creating the table, that same you need to add it. So last name was also required, then contact number was required, but contact number has max length 10. And here we can add a min length also. Fine. Remaining fields are optional. What is this? Oh, nullable. We can ignore this. This is just a warning. So we have created model, which is exact representation of our table. Whatever the properties we had, whatever the column we had in our table, that many properties we have created in our model. Now this model, we need to register to our DbContext class as a DB set. So public DB set. See, it is suggesting also because we have written it, it is suggesting also. That's it. So we have said like this is why it is giving error. We don't need semicolon. Okay. So we have created a model and according to our database table, and that model we have registered into our database. So we are saying like in this database, we have this table. Got it? So basic things are done. Now we can create a controller. Let's just build one more time, build and rebuild. Fine. Now we click on controller, add and controller. So now while creating controller, as model is already there, we can select the API and from here API you need to select. And out of that, third option you need to create API controller with action using entity framework. You don't have to write a single code. It will create the basic CRUD operation by itself. So click on add. You need to select the model. Currently, we just have one model, that is employee. And DbContext class, employee DbContext. Then your controller name. So let's say instead of employees, now we will go with employee master. On click of add, it will now create whole CRUD API. Get, post, put, delete, right? Everything it will create. So with this many step, we will be able to create the API. See. With 6 steps, you will be able to create your API. Just installation you need to do. Let's just give it some time. Fine. So you can see why it is not recognizing employee. Employee is a, oh, so here's the problem, because our project name is also employee and the model name is also employee. So let's change this employee to something else. Employee data. So our project name and our project's namespace name and our model name was also same. So that's why it is showing us the error. Fine. Now wherever we had a reference of employee, let's search and replace that with employee data. Wherever we were using the employee model, let's search it and replace it. That's it. Fine. So see the basic API, get API to get all the list of the employee. A single, again, get API with the ID to get the single employee data. Then put API to update. Then post API to create new employee, and the delete API. Right? All the APIs which you have got. Now let's just try to run and see if we are getting the, if we are able to access the API. So by default, it will run on particular port. By just clicking over here, you will be able to run the API project. Now, how do we access that API? Sorry, you just need to remove this API slash your controller name. So our controller name is employee master. So if everything is correct, we should be able to get the data. So once you provide this, by default, get API will execute. Okay, so we have error, invalid object name employees, invalid object name employees. So I think our table name was employee master. Fine. And the model which we have created is with something else name. The model name is employee data, na? So in employee data, it just names we have taken the same, na? That's why it is giving us the error. So you can see the model name we have said employee data. So let's change our table name also with the same employee data. Let's copy. I'm just changing the database table name. Rename, because it didn't find that table with employee master. Now let's stop it and let's run it again. API slash, what was the controller name? Our controller name is API master. Let's copy. Let's paste it over here, enter. Still, it is finding employee object name employees. From where it is trying to find employees? Let's try to see employee data. Where it is finding employees? Let's search. Where do we have the reference of employees? Employees, it will go over here. Why it is saying like that? So instead of this employees, now let's use employee data. Let's save and try one more time. It should not be like that. Let's see. Okay, so if we are changing employee data over here, everywhere we need to change it also. See, we are getting the error. Employee data. Let's change it. It's just same name we have taken. Now that's why we have to do. I also didn't pay the attention. Let's change it. I will revise one more time. Just let me resolve this. Nothing much error, just the name conflicts were there. That's why we are facing this. Let's try to run it. Yeah, so see, you can see we got the data. Currently in the table, we just had one record. So this is nothing but your GET API. Let me just add a debugger also. So the first GET API call, this I'm talking about. So once you reload this page, You will get the debugger over here. See, we got the debugger. And here we are trying to read the data from that particular table. So this particular line will get all the record from your table and it will simply return it. Continue. See, got it? So we have created the API and APIs are also working. Now we can move to the Angular part. So in Angular part, I'm not creating new project. I will be using the existing one. So this is an existing project I have. So I will be trying to access the same API in this component. So inside this pages folder, I will be creating a new component. So ng generate component employee data. So I'm just creating a new component. Okay. So component is created. Once the component is created, we need to create the route because I'm going to access that by using the route. So employee component was already there. That's why I use another name, employee hyphen data, route name, then your component name, employee data component. Fine. Now this route name we will provide into our layout, or we don't need the layout also. So we have created our employee data route. So let's try to access it. So let's try to run the project first. Any project you can use, existing one, or you can create the new also. After doing that, you will be just following this thing. So I'm running the project on, I'm just running the project. So by default, it will run on 4200. We are going to get the course issue. I will explain how to resolve that. So our project is running. Let's try to access that project. Localhost 4200. So some login page will come. So let's try to access our component. So employee slash data. Let's copy. Without login also I can access because I have disabled that auth guard. So you can see employee data component is working. Now in this component, we are going to do the CRUD of employee component. So all the APIs are over here. We are just going to consume this API into our component. Now I'm not going to create service and everything because in the same component, I will explain all the code. So this is the component what we need, HTML. Fine. Now, so here we are going to do the API call. So first thing, let's complete the UI part. Again, I will be taking the help of ChatGPT. Now, how do you create the UI? So if you see, this is the model. Wait, where is the model? We had running now. Let's try to run. Now, I don't want to create the UI by myself. I will ask ChatGPT to do it. I will show you how do we do that. Employee master. Let's continue. So if you see, this is the object which I'm going to deal with. So I will copy this object. Let's open ChatGPT. ChatGPT or Gemini, anything, any API tool any AI tool you can use. So I'm pasting this model, means the response, and I will ask to create CRUD UI design for this model using Bootstrap. I will say using Bootstrap. Let's enter. So it will create table and the form and everything. Let's see. It will provide the HTML, normal HTML. Then you need to copy paste it. So here you can see we are getting the table. And it is doing that on the model pop-up. Okay, let it be. We will just copy paste. So here you can see, you remember data, what object we have passed. So it has added that one record also. So everything basic code it will provide. Fine. So let's copy this HTML code only, not with the HTML and the body, just the content. So let's copy, let's paste it over here. Fine. Let's save and check if our UI is coming proper. Somewhere at the rate symbol is there. Let it be like that. Let's save. So now you can see we got the table and the on click of add. Currently it is not opening because we need to have that because the code they have written is with bootstrap.js considering bootstrap.js, but we don't have bootstrap.js. So we have this table out. After that you can see we have this model. Now on this button click we need to open this model pop-up. So let's create a view child and we will open that. So click open model. Let's create this function. Now we need to create the view child for that particular model. So at the rate view child. Now here we need to add the reference value to this model. So instead of ID, we can use hash employee model. Fine. This is my template variable. This I have to pass it over here in the view child. Model colon element ref and or undefined check we need to add. Fine. So we have created our view child. Now in this function, we need to add a null check if view child is properly initialized. So this dot emp model is there, then this dot emp model dot native element dot style dot display. We are just adding a dynamic CSS to open the model pop-up. Display is equal to block CSS we need to add. Fine. Let's just save this and let's check if we are able to open the model pop-up. So on click of add employee, still we are not able to open. What's happening? This function we have already called over here. Let's save both the files properly. Something is not working. Let's check why. Let's open the sources. Let's open particular TS file, employee, data component.ts. Let's add a debugger over here. On click of add, oh, our function is not getting called. Or somewhere now I'm not able to click this button. Why I'm not able to click this button? Okay. So what is happening now? See this model pop-up is, this button is, okay, now we are able to click it. But that model pop-up is not coming. How come? Model fade. Let's remove this class. Yeah. So that fade was coming. So you can see we are getting the model pop-up open on that particular button. Now we just need one more function to close the model pop-up also, right? So just like that, we will copy this same function, paste it below. Instead of open, we will say close. And if you want to close means you just need to hide it. So none CSS you need to add. And this function you will add on that close icon. And at the bottom also we will have some close button. There also we will add it. Okay, there was none. Fine. So everywhere the form is coming very big at the bottom one by one. So let's do some basic alignment. So what ChatGPT does now, it will just provide you the basic UI. Then again, obviously you need to realign, right? So let's create row call 6. And in this call 6, we will just move our content. So this will go over here dot call 6. This will go over here do call 6 dot call 6. Let's remove this. Fine. Then we have city and address. So dot row dot call 6. So for city we will have a 6 row, and for address we will need the complete row. So dot row call 12, and inside this call tail we will put our address one because it's a text area. Fine. Let's just format it. Let's just save and check. Close model does not exist. I think .ts we didn't save. Let's save. Fine. So now some form is visible. Let's just override some CSS as text box is not coming properly visible. Or let it be. Fine. So basic UI is ready. Now first thing we are going to do, first get API integration we need to do. Whatever the API was returning, that data we need to get, and that data we need to show it into our table. So this is my get API. So API integration. So this is my Angular 19 project. So in my app config, I have already added this provide HTTP client. So in the component, I can directly make the API call. Fine. Now let's open it side by side. Now we have to create an instance of HTTP client. So HTTP is equal to inject method. I'm going to use HTTP client. Again, I'm not taking everything from the basic because considering you already know the basic of Angular and you just want to see how it's actually how APIs are made and how do we make that connection. So for that, this is the video. But if you don't know, please just do watch a tutorial video, either mine or someone else, but just gather the basic information. Then you can start on this. Fine. Now get all employees, just a function I'm creating. Now in this function, we will make our API call. So this dot HTTP dot get API call. Get API call needs the URL. So this is our URL. Then get return the observable data. We can subscribe to it. Colon any. Fine. So whatever the data we get from that API, that we need to hold it to a variable also. So let's create a variable. So let's say employee list colon any of array. I'm not creating class or interface just to save the time. Whatever the data we get, that we need to assign to this variable. So employee list is equal to, what do we have written over here? Result. Fine. And this function we need to call on the page load. So we need to implement our lifecycle event hooks. So implement on init. Let's create this ng on init function. And in this function, we will we will execute our function get all employees. Fine. So once the page load, this function will get triggered. Let's just test and see if we are able to access the API. We will see API, we got the debugger, but we won't get the response. Let me show you in the inspect. See, we are getting course error. So we are running our project on localhost 420. Let's reload. So your request will go to the server. See, we got the debugger, but it won't return the data because we have just created an application, API application, but we didn't added the restriction. So you can see we got the course error. Now to resolve this course error, we need to enable something on the API side. So we are allowing we have to allow that 4200 port to be connected from our API, kind of whitelisting. Fine. So for that, let me see app. So on the .NET side in your program.cs, you have to allow CORS. So for that, let me get you the code. So first builder.service.add core we need to add CORS we need to do. So let's over here builder.services.add CORS round bracket. Then we have to allow specific port also. So for that, you need to write this. So here we are creating a policy in the course, allow course. This is our policy name. Then we are allowing 4200 with any credential, with any header, and with allow any method. Fine. So now this course policy we need to add on our controller. So over here, course, enable course, round bracket, and our course policy name. Fine. Let's just save and run it one more time. Now we should be able to consume our API because we have enabled course. Let's try now. So see, previously we were getting this error, but now we should be able to consume our API. Once the project run, why it is taking time? Let it run, build succeeded. Where it is running? Yeah, now it is running. Now if I reload, so we have got, wait, why debugger is not there? 500. Why it is saying 500? Let's try this API. Contain course metadata, but middleware was not found supporting course. Use course in the application startup if there are use routing and use endpoints app.use cars. Okay. So I think in program.cs, app dot use course we also need to do. Fine. Let's just save and check it one more time. So this thing I forgot. Let's run it again. So first in the builder services, you are creating a policy and that you need to allow it over here also. Fine. Let's just try now. So now if we reload just the URL, yeah, I'm now able to hit it. Now let's try to reload our employee data component. Continue. Yeah, so see, we got the debugger, and whatever the data we return, that we will able to. Still we are getting cause error. How come it is saying 4200 has been blocked? But how come we have enabled the cars and we have allowed this particular port number also 4200? Do we require the HTTP? See, here HTTP is there and here we have HTTPS. Let's try to change it. This is one port, comma again, but without HTTPS. Let's try again. That's it we have to do. We don't have to do anything else. Let's check if it is working. Let's reload. Pending. We got the debugger. Continue. It's still in. Yeah. So see, now we have got so that HTTPS was there, no, because of that, because our application was running on HTTP. Fine. So now if you see, we are getting the data. Now this data we need to showcase in the table. So let's show that also. So in the table, you can see this was hardcode data. So instead of that, we will use @for loop. So @for loop, and this tr we need to move inside our for loop. So we are going to get the data inside this array. So over here, now let's make it interpolation also. Item dot. What things we are getting, that only we need to display. So employee first name and the last name. So let's bind it as employee first name, then space, again curly braces, item dot last name we need to bind. Fine. Let's remove this td, name only, then email. So let me just copy paste. Let's just copy paste the field email, then contact number. What is the field? Contact number. This field will go over here. Then we have city and address. So city and address. Let's save and check. So same data will be visible now. Continue. So see, Chetan Jogi and everything is coming. Let's try to insert one more data from the database itself. So let's add Rahul. Now I'm inserting data from the database. Address, I'm not specifying anything. Okay, I think it is not nullable. Let's say Mumbai. Why it is saying index was out of the range? Why it is saying like that? 8888 7777 What is this error? Index was out, must be non-negative or the. Let's try to refresh and do one more time. Let's try one more time editing. Rahul to run. Yeah, so now it is visible. So a city and the address was not mandatory, so I kept it as empty. Now if I refresh, I should be able to see two records now. Let's remove this debugger from over here. Let's continue. Why it is giving 500? The data is null. The property For some property, I think it is giving us the error. Why it is giving me this error? The data is null. How come? Let's pass some value. Okay, so in the data, in while creating the model, now we didn't say string as nullable, so that's why it is giving the error. So if you remember, while providing over here, see, it was suggesting like it is nullable. So we said like these three things were required, but this three city and address and email is not nullable. So we have to make that nullable also. But for now, we will just add some value. Fine. Now we should be able to get the response. See, these are the errors you are also going to face. So that's why I'm not skipping anything, or I'm not keeping my code ready also. So you are also going to face the issue, and how do you solve that? You will also get it. So see, currently in the database table, we have two records. So that two records are visible. So get operation is success. Now we have to move toward the add employee. So where was that? So this is the object, right? So let's copy this object. Now we have to create an object. So employee obj colon any is equal to this object we have pasted over here. Now we are going to use form template form. So let's import forms module. This is a standalone component, so we need to import everything. Primary key should be 0. We don't need to send it. Let's reinitialize everything with empty value. Fine. So whatever the object we need to create, we need to pass that object we have created. Now this object we need to bind to our form. So in the model pop-up, we have the form. So over here, square bracket, round bracket, ng model is equal to employee object dot we need to bind first name. So before that, now what I will do, I will search this input type text and I will replace that with this. So at a one time, I will be copy pasting everywhere. Fine. Now here we need to bind first name. So first name property will go over here. Then last name will go over here. Then, oh, email was there. Then email will go over here. Then contact number will go over here. And last one, city and address. That was text area. So address. So we have created object, that object we have binded to our form also. But our form, we are using ng model inside a form tag, right? So that name attribute will be mandatory. But instead of that, now let's make it div. I don't want to add that name property. Let's make it div only. Fine. Now on click of submit, let's use this button. Click on save. Let's create this function. Now on click of save, we need to hit our post API. Fine. So let's create this dot http dot post API call. Post API call normally required two parameter URL and the object. So URL will be same, but here we need to pass the object. So this dot employee object we need to pass. Again, subscribe thing will be there. So let's just copy paste the same thing. But in this API, the response of this API is going to be the model. We don't want to store it. And we will just call this function again. Once save operation is success, again we will call the get API so that new record will be visible in the table. Let's test it now. So currently we just have two record. On click of add, let's say Poonam .com. Let's say contact number 2222333344. Pune. Don't provide your actual contact number or email ID because APIs are means sorry, I'm not using real API. Fine. Ignore that. Now, so if we add a debugger into employee data component onto our save function. So over here and over here. Now if we click on save, see in the employee data, we got the object employee ID is 0 because whenever we create the new record, primary key, we need to send it as 0. Continue. So API call is success, I think. See, 3 record we have got at the bottom. Now I need to show the debugger also. How do we, when we make the post API call, how do we receive that data over here? So where it is post API call. Let's add a debugger over here. Let's try to create one more new record. We didn't clear that object. Let's do it. Rohit Sharma, Rohit @dummy.com, dummy mobile number, Mumbai. Now on click of save, we are passing this object. Once I continue, see over here, you get the data, whatever the data you pass from your API, from your Angular application, that data we get it over here. And that data we ask our entity framework to store in our employee table. Fine. So this is the code, how it works. Continue. Once API call is success, again, we are calling that API call. So in at the back side, you can see records are coming, but this is static, I think. Let's make it dynamic. The serial number is static, now 111 coming. That might be because we had this one. So instead of this, we will use this index. So our serial number will be dynamic index plus 1, so that it will start from 1. See now. So we are able to do the gate API integration. We are able to do we are able to create the new employee also. Now edit and the delete. First, I will complete the delete part, then the edit part. So on the click of delete, oh, function is already there. Let's remove on instead of this round bracket click event, because we got this code from our chat GPT now, so it has created that function also. Let's create this functions and edit employee also. In edit employee now, we will pass the object. So this, whatever the item is there now, that we will pass. And over here, we need the employee ID. So, or let's pass the object. There we will extract it. Data colon any. I'm going with any. Fine. Now, so on respective button, we have called the respective function. First delete. So here we need to show, whenever we do the delete, we need to show that warning pop-up, right? So for that is delete. I will use the confirm box with the message, are you sure want to delete? If user say yes, we will get true over here is delete. Okay, if it is true, we need to make our API call. So this dot http dot delete URL will be same. This will be the only URL, but just method is going to be different. And we need to pass, let's see the API. So if you see the delete API, we need to pass the ID. So let's pass the ID. So we are going to get the complete object. So data after slash plus data dot employee ID we need to pass. Again, subscribe thing will be as it is. And once delete is success, we need to call this API call. Let's see. If I inspect, if I click on the delete Rahul record, I'm trying to delete. On click of delete, we will get that pop-up. If I say cancel, nothing happens. No API call is there. But if I click on delete, let's add a debugger over here also. If I click on delete and if I click on OK, you see we got an API call and here we got the ID too. Now this code will run and if everything is perfect, we will be removing. Yeah. So now you can see record got deleted, that Rahul record. Got it? So this API call was success, the delete one. Fine. So delete is done. Now we just need to do the update. Update is also same thing. So on click of edit, what we need to do, whatever the data means which record we are trying to update, that we are passing as a parameter. See, this function we are calling, right? So once we click on the edit, we are passing the object, current particular object we are passing. That object we get it over here. So this object we need to assign to our employee object because that object we have assigned to our form. So on click of edit, first our form will get rendered and we need to open the model pop-up also. So this function we need to call over here. So this dot like this. Let's save. Now once I click on edit, let's try the last record. You see data is coming. Let's change Sharma to something else. Let's say QQ. Now on click of save, we need to, now this is the save, right? But if we are in the update mode, we have to show that update button. So that also we can do. So how do we do that? Once we edit, we get the ID present over here. So let's copy this button. Let's paste it on update employee. Instead of primary, I will make it warning. So that button should be properly visible. Now here we will add the if else condition. So condition will be if in my employee object, I have employee ID as 0, means we are creating new record. So this save button should be over there. Fine. But if it is not 0, so it will go to the else block. And the rate else. And over here, we need the update button. So this button, we need to paste it over here. Let's create this function also. Just like this, just like the save, we will have the update. But if we see the put API, let me show you the put API. So see, put API needs the ID and the object also. Fine. So we need to pass the ID also and the object also. So just like this, API will be there, but instead of post, now it will be put. URL will be same, but after this, we need ID also. So we need to send the URL with ID and the object also. Employee ID. Fine. Let's check it if we are able to update. And once we are able to create the record, we need to close the model popup also. So this function, we have to call it over here also. Once we are able to create the record, and same thing after update also. Let's save and check now. So if I click on add employee, you can see save button is over here. Now if I click on edit, you can see update button is coming. Let's change Sharma with QQ. Now if I click on update, did we add the API? No. Let's try to see what is happening on click of update. Nothing is happening. Why? Let's check what is going wrong. Okay. So see how URL is getting formed like this. We missed the slash. So over here, after this, we need the slash. Now our API call will be success. Let's try again. So on click of edit, Sharma, let's make it QQ. On click of update, you see our debugger is activated. So we got the ID and the complete object also we have got. See in the last name QQ, new record. Continue. See, surname got updated. So this is the whole process. This is what happens when we create API and how you actually integrate the API. Now, background like this we do. So I hope this video was helpful to you, like how actually API work, how do we connect with from your Angular application to the backend API. Okay. So again, like if you are new, please do like, subscribe and join the WhatsApp link also provided. I take normally live coding sessions, so many topics we explain. So just to get access, just to get notified on that, just do that, just do WhatsApp, just do that, just do join my WhatsApp link. Fine. So that's it. Thank you. Thanks for watching.